133, Self-Portrait as a Soldier by Ernest Ludwig Kirchner. It is painted in 1915. It is an oil on canvas, and it is considered a masterpiece of psychological drama. The context is Kirchner, who lived in Germany for much of the first part of his life, really disliked the industrialization of Germany at the turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s. He was disappointed by the wealth that it created for some who were in power. He didn't like how it alienated people, how it became mechanized and impersonal. So you can see this huge factory that was located in Germany. So Kirchner and some of his colleagues from college created the German expressionist movement titled The Bridge. They considered themselves to be the bridge from old art to modern art. And they used a combination of color and, quote, wrenching distortion of form, ragged outlines, and agitated brushstrokes to create this expressionist movement. They were intending to make people feel jarred by the work and thus elicit some emotional response from the viewer. They used, you can see here, garish, clashing colors, and you might hopefully think of Edward Munch, The Scream, just to feel that alienation that Kirchner is trying to get us to experience. So that's the German expressionist movement, use of garish colors, and it's called The Bridge. Another contextual influencer were African masks. You can see in the model here, the woman, the female nude, that her angular nose, eyes, whole face, and Kirchner's face resemble African masks that have this sharp lines, rigidity. So, like many other people, he was influenced by African art. In 1914, World War I broke out in Europe. You can see here Germany and Austria. There's a line going here and a line here. These were the fronts, the Eastern Front over here, Western Front here, and lots of trench warfare. There was so much automation of machinery that armies just dug into the ground for protection. And so Kirchner was sent to war. Well, he actually registered, went in the 75th Battalion, and quickly was just mentally hurt by this war, and so was sent out of the war. And he had a kind of a mental breakdown where he could not see himself going back to war. And this medical discharge really left him also scarred. Excuse me. This is an image that he painted before he went into World War I, and this is, of course, the after World War I image. When he got out after the war, he painted this piece, of course, Self-Portrait as a Soldier, and then he went to Switzerland, where he lived for 20 years to recover from all of this trauma. And you can see his art in Switzerland is, to me, a little bit more lively and still wild colors contrasting. But in 1934, Adolf Hitler, who saw himself as an artist, really did not like the art of Picasso, Kandinsky, and Kirchner, and these were labeled degenerate art. Hitler had them all rounded up. 32 pieces of Kirchner's work were taken to be displayed, and you can see here Hitler looking at the work being displayed, and it was so offensive. The public was invited in to look at the show, and they were asked to just be really rude about the art. and Kirchner committed suicide, I'm sure, as a result of this in 1938. So the form of his piece, Self-Portrait as a Soldier, is we see a soldier standing here. His hand is cut off. Kirchner's hand was not cut off, but he has cut off his hand. Elongated face, angular features. We've talked about that from the African masks. We have a nude woman who has really small shoulders, so that German expressionism, the bridge facet of having disproportionate bodies is showing through. And he is set this in an artist studio. You see paintings in the background. And he has cropped himself at the waist. In terms of content, he paints himself as gaunt. And we know that when he was discharged from World War I, he really starved himself practically so that he wouldn't have to return. And this is his uniform from the 75th Artillery Regiment. His blue eyes match his uniform. His cigarette, which kind of has a connotation of, thinking, pausing, reflecting. We think that those two things, those blue eyes matching the uniform and cigarette, show that he is thinking about the war. The sickly yellow look, we associate yellow skin with sickness, weakness, perhaps. And then his stumped arm here, it is this possible loss that he experienced from the war. He lost his manhood. He could not return to the war. Essentially, he is crippled by World War I. The function, I didn't do the function, holy cats. Okay, so the function of this piece is it serves as our German expressionism, and it serves as a commentary about the psychological drama created by war. So function, example of German expressionism, art from the group called The Bridge, and it serves to show us how war can create a psychological drama. So this is Self-Portrait as a Soldier, Ernest Ludwig Kirchner, 1915, oil on canvas.